charging customers for carrier bags. And joining me in studio is Charles Kerich, who is the Nairobi County Acting Finance Executive. Many thanks for joining us here on KTN News Center. Before we get to the issue of supermarkets and the issue of charging carrier bags, we've just seen a fire has broke out in Gikomba. What is the county government going to do about this?
Gikomba is a fire hotspot. It's not the first fire. I think it's the second this year. There have been a number over the years. And we have what we call this multi-agency task force that has been dealing with the planning of the city and demolishing unfit structures and opening up roads in areas like Gikomba. The problem you will always find is that in a place like Gikomba is access to fire engines, and then the structures that are used to construct the stalls are always things that are very combustible. So it is for the market traders to agree with the county that this whole market needs to be relooked at. I mean, you need a modern market that people can go without, you know, fearing for their safety and or having to wallow in mud the whole time.
Yes.
So that if it's actually well planned, it is possible to then have structures that do not catch fire all the time.
But are those structures in place right now? All those issues that you're talking about, has the county government actually talked about them?
We have, severally.
And when will it be implemented?
Especially after the last fire. But like I said, it's something that goes beyond the county government itself. It goes to the national government, to the security agencies, to the committee of the markets. And I think if nobody is going to take the lead, then we will ourselves.
All right, so back to the issue at hand. Of course, Nairobi County government presented its budget on Tuesday, and just some of the issues that came out are the issues of the proposed revenues, and one of them is the issue of taxing supermarkets for charging of carrier bags. First of all, how is this going to work out? How is it going to be implemented?
Yeah, it is interesting. 32 billion shillings budget, but the social taxes and charges and levies that we proposed are the ones that seem to have attracted a lot of attention, which is as it should be, because it is what affects people directly. Our argument is that supermarkets used to give out paper bags for free in the past.
Yes.
The paper bag, the ban on plastic bags took effect, and they needed to find new alternatives. You know, we now have the new generation carrier bags, which I have heard from people in industry, including, I think, Safaricom, that the cost of producing that bag is equivalent to the cost of producing a plastic bag. So there's really no justification for supermarkets to begin to then create a new revenue stream for themselves in the name of charging for the bags. This is more of a social tax. We really do not hope to raise money from those bags. We hope that the supermarkets will come to their senses and give the bags free.
All right,
you know, when you arrive at the till and then you're told, you know, you have 20 items, and they ask, uko na kitu ya kubeba? You know, we are not supposed to be walking around with paper bags in our pockets or carrier bags in our pockets.
Yes.
However, to implement it, we would then, in our finance bill, put a charge or a fee or an amount of money.
How much?
It will be a percentage of whatever you raise from selling those bags.
Which is an estimate 10, 5, 6%?
We will go for 50%. If you sell a paper bag for carrier bag for 10 shillings, we want 5 shillings out of it.
All right.
So the way out is don't charge.
All right, let's not forget that it's not just supermarkets that sell these carrier bags. There are kiosks, there are, you know, local shops in the areas that also do this. What happens then? Do you also go tax the same to every other shop that sells these carrier bags? Yeah,
of course, logistically it's going to be difficult, but just like the experience with the removal of paper bag, the plastic bags that took a while, we can go for the quick win, and the quick win is the large outlets where many people converge and congregate to to buy many things. There are many other shopping places within the same malls, different from supermarkets, who do not charge. So it's not a common practice. I think it's just most rampant in kiosks, retail outlets, and supermarkets.
And what about other malls selling other items? Because it's not just supermarkets that,
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, that many others do not charge.
Yes.
If you bought a mobile phone, they will not put a carrier bag charge for you. So the offenders are very few. And we are just saying that it's a nuisance. It is irritating, just like the other tax that we introduced, the one of parking, where we again argue that what sense does it make for you to drive into a shopping mall, spend 10,000 shillings shopping, and on your way out you still have to pay 100 shillings for parking? It doesn't happen anywhere else in the world.
All right, critics have come out to say that it's not been thought out well, I beg your pardon. The cost will eventually come back to the consumers. What do you have to say about this?
Number one, the budget is always well thought out. It's not two people sitting in a room dreaming up figures from the sky. There's a lot of public participation that goes into the process. We sit with the members of the public, elected leaders, NGOs, civil society organizations, and so on. And so by the time you actually come to introduce anything new in the finance bill, it has already gone through a lot of consultation. And every new charge that is introduced has a period of implementation. And that is when, you address the teething problems and it has happened for everything. When they introduce a new, like when they ban smoking in public, for example, it takes a period of like 2 to 3 months for it to actually be properly implemented.
All right.
So, like we say, again, we are hoping that we do not even need to get that money. We are hoping that they will just come to their senses and not charge.
So it's still a 50-50?
No. It's not 50-50. It's been pronounced in the budget. It's going to be in the finance bill.
Yes, but if you're hoping that they come to their senses and stop charging people, consumers, for those carrier bags, then what happens to the revenue that you're expected to collect from that tax?
We have not anchored our 32 billion shillings budget on money that we will get from plastic bags. That was a really tiny component, and we are not going to lose our revenue if we do not collect money from the carrier bags. We are aggressively going out for the other sources that we already have, which are not being properly exploited. The outdoor advertising, we don't believe we are getting what is due to us in terms of rates and parking. Parking is a big problem because people, when they fail to comply, they have their cars clamped, and then they know that, by 6 p.m. my car will be unclamped, so I might as well go and sit in a restaurant and drink tea and watch Germany being thrashed from the World Cup, and when I come out, I will find the clamp has been removed. Right. So it's about enforcement, and once we enforce and go for the big picture stuff and bring more people into the compliance bracket, then small things like carrier bags really is not something that we are relying on to boost our revenue.
You've talked about the 32 billion shillings budget, of course. Around 16 billion is supposed to be financed through revenues, right? If I'm not
yes, 15 point something is from local 16. Revenues and 16 from the national government.
So Nairobi County has been known to collect around 9 annually. How exactly are you going to meet this target? Our average
annually is 12 billion.
Okay.
This year was special. We had a very long campaign period. You'll remember the campaigns took almost 6 months. And eventually when we had our election, we in Nairobi then had another 1 month of demonstrations in the streets and tear gas and so on. That really affected our revenue. And if you check with the Commission on Revenue Allocation, they will tell you that each of the 47 counties, all of them had a dip in revenue this year. All. It's not a unique case to Nairobi.
All right.
We, this time, actually want to go beyond that 12. And the way we will do it is by aggressively going out for our money. You will see we will begin to go and clamp buildings where people are not paying rates. These vehicles that are not paying for parking, now it's not just an issue of clamping. We will tow them away and make sure that you pay that fine that is punitive enough to remind you next time to comply.
All right.
So we will go beyond.
How long should we expect this action to start taking place?
From July 1, which is a Sunday.
Yes.
We have already put in place all the mechanisms. Of course, you know, county revenue traditionally has high and low seasons. And right now we are on the very low season. The high season normally begins in October. So that allows us to break our spending and our budgeting and our revenue into quarters, which really helps in terms of planning. You sometimes hear it being said that counties have not spent money that was set aside for development, you know. So I think if we can look at the whole finance system, because there is also treasury, you know, with its role to play, and the control of budget has its role to play.
Yes.
We have just been informed, for example, that, you know, we get our equitable share from the national government every month. We are now at the end of June. We have not received our equitable share for May and June. We just got for April 2 days ago, which is what we will use to pay salaries. But we have not got for May and June, and we have now been told it's not coming. So that's a problem for us because, you know, the treasury remitting money to the counties is something provided for in the Constitution. It's not really something that we should negotiate over. And so when they inform us that it's not coming, so what does that mean? You know, we have 2.5 billion shillings that should have come from Treasury that is not going to come. So, you know, we really need to begin to readjust all our finances. And I think we need to have a conversation about that. All
right. Thank you very much, Charles Kerich, Nairobi County Acting Finance Executive, for making time to join us here on KTN News Center. And of course, for the insight. Now, the Court of Appeal is today set to deliver the judgment in the Kitui gubernatorial